talking about slowing down to love well today. So the first thing to say is actually it's not possible. You can't do it, actually. You can't slow down to love well. Those things that maybe I see as loving, like being patient with a sibling or doing what you're told without moaning, being kind to people, being generous, putting others first, not being selfish, these kind of loving well things, you can't actually do them any better. It's not in you. You can try, but however much effort you put in, you'll just find that you don't have it in you. So it's a bit of a non-starter in that respect. So it also is about slowing down to love well. Well, I don't know how relevant that phrase feels to you. It might be something that kind of happens as you get older, but it's to do with having like a really busy life where you're constantly, there's kind of calls on your attention all the time, you're spinning lots of plates. Maybe in normal life, not lockdown life, you kind of can relate to that a little bit. Maybe you've got masses of different places to be, maybe you follow loads of different social media accounts and you have to make sure you keep up with everything all the time. You've got your homework, maybe you're really into gaming and you don't want to stop that or get left behind where your friends are with that. On top of that, you've got like clubs and hobbies, and then you've got your parents saying, oh, you need to spend more time with your family, you need to go to church, you need to do this and that. So maybe, yeah, you do feel a bit like you can be quite hurried as a person and you can understand what it means to slow down. But really, in reality, even if we slowed down to like a snail's pace, we wouldn't be able to love any better, not really. There is actually only one thing we can do to love well, and that's spending time with Jesus. You could say that you don't need more compassion or more patience or more love, you need more Jesus. Everything good about you comes from him anyway, and so it follows therefore that if you spend time with him, you'll get more of those things. You can't do it on your own. But now you're probably thinking, what does it mean to spend time with Jesus? Well, the Bible gives us a story about two people that spent time with Jesus. In the book of Luke, he goes to the house of a lady and her sister called Mary and Martha. And Mary sits down at Jesus' feet and listens to him, whereas Martha gets really busy being really hospitable. She makes the refreshments and she makes sure the house is really comfortable. She's being a really good host. She's doing such a good job. And she's being so kind and thoughtful. And if I was visiting, I would actually really like Martha to be the one that greets me, because she's clearly thinking about her guest. She's thinking about Jesus and she wants him to be comfortable and happy. And then she ends up getting a bit annoyed because Mary's not helping her. And Jesus ends up saying to Martha that Mary has chosen what's better. So we can learn a little bit from these two ladies. Firstly, they're both spending time with Jesus. Both of them are doing good things. Notice Jesus doesn't say one of them's bad and the other one's good. He uses the word better, which really I would only use if I was comparing two things that are already good. Like I would say this thing is good and this thing's better. I wouldn't say this thing's bad and this thing's better, because it just doesn't really make sense. So I think Jesus is saying that what Martha's doing is okay. Like, she's still spending time with Jesus. She's busying herself around the house and she's being really hospitable and generous and she's being a really good host. And while she's doing it, she's probably listening to Jesus. Like, I don't know how big houses were in those days, but she can hear him, I guess, and she's just busy getting on with the different things she's doing while she's listening to him. And that's a really good thing to do, and I think you can do that too, and I've been trying to learn how to do that a little bit more. Just things like maybe when you're doing your homework, you could not listen to any music or not have anything on that you're watching, and just start off just by quieting yourself before God and say, I'm here, Lord, and I'm doing my homework and I want to do it with you. Or maybe when you go out for a walk, you could leave your headphones at home, or when you're doing maybe some baking or you've got some jobs to do in the house, perhaps don't find something to watch, or don't call somebody. Just do it quietly and with God, and just tell him, I'm here, Lord, and I want to spend this time with you. And maybe you'll find that nothing much happens, but maybe I think you will find if you kind of keep up this habit, you'll find yourself tuning in a bit more to God. And maybe thinking of something out of the blue, or you'll get a sense of something that Jesus is trying to say to you. But Jesus does say that Mary makes a better choice. She just stops and she puts everything down and she listens to him and sits with him. And we can do the same as well. And obviously, he is not about to knock at my door and come round for tea. So it's really not straightforward, and I know how frustrating it is, and you hear people say, oh, spend time with God, and you just think, I don't even know what that means. But for me, it's about going to a quiet place and just saying to God, when you're on your own, I'm here and I want to connect with you and I want to hear from you and I want to just get right before you. And then opening up your Bible is a really good thing to do next. And you can worship as well, put some songs on Spotify or YouTube and start just thinking about Jesus, listening to the words and singing along if you want to. Praying while you're in that quiet place. Just tell God how you're feeling, what your week is looking like, and tell him the things that are worrying you. And this is what Mary does. She puts things down and she stops. And it's about just turning down the volume of everything else and therefore having more space in your mind for God, for Jesus, who's already in you. We just crowd him out so much with this busyness. And so that's what it means about slowing down. And I think that as you do this, you will find that the natural consequence is that you get better at loving. It's kind of like impossible to spend time with Jesus and not have these things like patience and kindness and all these things that we see as loving. It's impossible for them not to grow if we're spending this time with him. So that's it really. So what about you? Do you think you could maybe try a Mary or a Martha approach this week? It'd be great if you could do both, but if it's just one, then remember Mary chose better